And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to the final week of the regular season. I feel like we just did the first one, a couple months ago, and now it's the final week. So you're either in or you're fighting for a spot. This is always usually a pretty fun week.
Yep, we're down to the last playoff spot. We only got one spot really in contention, but there's still seeding and all kinds of fun stuff to do.
Exactly. I guess I can pull up the scenarios real quick in a second, but we'll go
Yep.
over last week's matchup. Really, the only kind of crazy one is CT had his lowest point week of the entire season at 94. It was his first week under 100, and I barely edged him out with, Jalen Hurts going nuts. And then this Jack for Shmee was back and forth. The Dallas defense just kept putting up points when that in that fourth quarter, which was insane. And Pollard was getting a ton of rushing yards, so that was going back and forth. And then Taysom Hill, who's been so inconsistent, caught one pass.
One ball for 35 yards. Yeah, it was a busted
Touchdown.
coverage down the sideline for a touchdown. And that's all I put out.
And so that could prevent Jack from getting the spot. What a brutal beat, but that was pretty. Shmee with the points also passed me for the 3 seed, so we've been kind of going back and forth the last couple weeks. But Wes wins again, wins his 8th in a row. Seals up the number 1 spot. CT seals up the number 2 spot, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams competing for a playoff or seeding. Do you have any other breakdowns from last week?
No, I mean, I think I think yourself short a little bit. Your win over CT was monumental. I mean, you were probably fine in total points, but had you lost, you fallen to 7-6, and there was a scenario. It was looking like Jack was going to win, and there was still a scenario where you could have been dropped out. But I think all things considered, you would have been fine. So you locked up your playoff spot. CB really needed to win potentially. Again, if Jack would have won, CB would have been in a spot with the low points total that he could have got bumped out. But
Yep.
really, that Jack loss to Shmee kind of made things much simpler. There's really only one playoff scenario left, and it comes down to me beating Nels. If I do that and take care of my business, I get in. It looks like you got all of this.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
typed
let's go
some of
through
it
it.
out. Huh?
Yeah, I said let's go through it because I think from just the playoff perspective, I win, I'm in. If I lose and Jack wins, he'll likely overtake me in total points. And then as you've got here, it just all comes down to seeding.
Yeah, that it made it a little easier that Shmee and myself are playing each other this week. So
Yeah.
I was typing out all the scenarios, and I was like, wait, if Shmee wins, that means I lose. If I win, that means
Yep.
Shmee's lost. So I didn't have to type out every single scenario. So Shmee can get it as high as the 3 seed and as low as the 5 seed. I can do the same. CB can get as high as a 4 seed and as low as a 6 seed. If he loses, you win and doesn't outscore Bryson by 10 points this week. Bryson you can get the 5th seed or you can get the 7th seed, which is huge. You get the 5th by a win, CB loss, and CB doesn't outscore you by 10. And then you get the 7 if you lose, Jack wins, and Jack not getting outscored by Bryson by 38 points. So those are kind of the scenarios that I have. Jack can get the 6th seed. I didn't really go into all the other scenarios. Jack, he wants to get in the playoffs. So Jack gets the 6th seed with the win and Bryson lost and not getting outscored by Bryson by 38. So
How does so Shmee and you basically are just fighting for 4th and 5th, right?
3rd, 4th, and
Or can
5th.
you get it or third, 4th, and 5th? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so CB is kind of that. Yeah, for you in Shmee, I feel like staying 3rd and 4th is big because just on total points, it looks like CB and I are the weak link if we get in. So it'll be interesting to see CB wins and kind of put some of those scenarios for you and Shmee in a place where you might fall.
Yeah, and looking at the playoffs now that I'm in this year, instead of losing out by 2 total points like last year, I'm not going to take any team for granted. CB killed me when I played him. You got 130 points, 131 points when I, played you. this season. I don't really care who I get. I'm not going to take him for granted no matter where I fall, and just try and win in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see. You still got to sweat it out, and so does Jack. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Shmi, myself, and CB are going to be the 3, 4, 5 probably, and then you and Jack
Yeah,
fight
and
for
actually, as you
6.
think through it, I think it's pretty solidified that you or Shmi will play either CD, me. Like you won't play each other. There's no chance for a head-to-head matchup again in the first round of the playoffs for you two. So it's going to
Yeah,
be a combination of CB, me, or Jack that you two play.
yeah, and
And then yeah, West CT
I
will get to
beat
sit it out.
I beat Jack and then lost to you two in the regular season. And, I know it depends on matchups, but, just can't take it for granted. And I mean, that's kind of the
I
playoff
think
scenario.
the thing that's striking to me just looking at it is I feel like I got to pull up Jack's schedule because I feel like he started bad, came back, and then to finish with 3 losses to crap out of the playoff picture potentially. Yeah, he started his season with 3 losses, then came back and won what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of 7, and then losing 3 in a row. Granted, he played the
Yeah.
3 toughest teams arguably in the league in a row, which is rough, especially considering he only had 1 bad week in the mix. Just a brutal schedule down. I mean, gosh, you look at the start of his schedule too. He had
Hmm.
B and CT. You could argue that he's had one of the toughest schedules in the league.
I would argue that because he's got CT and Shmi, but I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I have Wes, CT, and Shmi twice.
Yeah.
I got Wes, but I mean, at the beginning, I thought his team was crap, and he beat me by 5 points. I did beat CB or CT the first week, then I beat Shmi, had a pretty bad week, but then I got them again as my repeats. So I wonder.
How many losses do you have scoring 100 points? It's like you win all your. I guess you have just
Yeah,
3. But
I'm 1-2 if I score 127 points or more. So lost to West with 127, lost to you with 130, and then I beat CT when I scored
I
146. But
forgot I beat you by 1 point. 131
well,
and 36.
to be fair, I thought I was out of it. And Chubb and
Yeah,
Mixon, they
came
played that
back.
Monday night, and Chubb went off and Mixon did enough to get a tie or a win. But I thought I was out of it. It ended up being close. I mean, RO and Nels had the chance to play Mays twice, and they're last bottom teams. So,
All right, should I flip over to the data?
yep,
All right, let's go. Let me know when you can see that.
I can see it.
All right, so big news on my personal front here. With my win last week, I jumped into the 100 win club,
Da,
joining
da, da,
Jack and
da.
CT. I know, I'd get a jacket or something. There is a group me just for the 100 win club. It's very exclusive. I finally got in. Not quite as exclusive as Jerry's. I assume you have your own group me for the
Yeah, I have
100.
my own. It's fun. It's a party.
But with me closing it out this year, I'll be the last person to join 100 Win Club. But next year, we've got quite a few that could make it. RO Nelson Scales are all probably knocking on the door. A good season from Shmi or CB could get them there. But yeah, we'll be interested to see if anybody else joins. Similarly, Nelson and I both joined the 18,000 point club this week, joining Jack and CT. It looks like we'll have several joining in a few years, but and then the other piece is Shmi's week put him back over 100 points on average per week. So he's got a few less seasons than some of us, but him and CT remain the only 2 people in league history averaging over 100 points per game throughout our league history, which is quite impressive. All right,
Yes.
now to the data everybody wants to know, and probably CT most of all since he's not here, but the power index data. So, oh, it's over to my crazy tables that you can see over here. All right. So, as you can see, I had to pull out a decimal point here, but going into the final week of the season, CT has a slight lead on the illustrious Paradox, 227.1 to 226.7. So the pressure is on. I ran a few scenarios, dumping some mock data in. So I basically just copy pasted the same league scores from last week into this week, and then played around with CT's score. So assuming we had basically same types of scores as last week, CT would need exactly 120 points or more to stay above the pace of Paradox. Anything below that, and he will likely fall below Shmi. So pressure's on. It's not an insurmountable number by any means. He probably should hit that, but it's not an easy number to hit as well. He went under 100 for the first time last week, so we'll
Yeah.
have to see if CT can hit it. And then the other piece I'd like to bring up is, last year Wes's team I dubbed pretty lucky, but it seems formidable this year. You see, he's broken into the top 8 with the 177 power index, which is really strong. I mean, if he went on to win, that would be the 4th strongest performance by a championship team in history. So he's got no slouch of a team. We'll see as we switch. I mean, basically, if you look at the league this year, you got 2 top-heavy teams in CT and Wes, and then the rest are pretty mediocre, and then you have 1 really bad team in Mod. So just 2 dominant teams this year. And then
Yep.
go ahead if you got anything.
No, I was just gonna say CT is gonna be so happy to hear that, and he's playing for that this week, even though he can't move positions.
Yep.
He's playing for that, and Shmi is rooting against him to be able to stay on top. This is just regular season, right? The
This is
index.
just regular season. So the power index is based on regular season. And Paradox won't move. I do have like a week by week, but Paradox is done because they were done at this week, last week. So it'll stay at 226.7, and CT will have to have a good week to maintain his small lead. So basically, again, 120 or above is what he needs to hold on. And then, yeah, Wes has got to play for staying in the top 10 all time, which be his first appearance, in the top 20, and he's got a chance to finish strong in the top 10. I mean, there's some good damn teams in that top 8 group.
Yeah.
All right, and then on to the luck metrics. So a reminder, on the left is what our actual standings look like, with Wes 12-1, CT 9-4. On the right is based on their power index, what we would assume their record to be. And CT still very unlucky despite getting that first round bye. He's got essentially 4 lost wins due to luck. He's projected to be 13-0. Wes is actually right on what his team's performance in terms of total points would suggest at 12-1. So not lucky at all. The big one that sticks out is Taylor. Based on he has the 3rd highest power index in the league. He should be 8-5. He's sitting at 4-9 and out of the playoff. So rough luck for Taylor. I don't know if he's even around to notice that he's had an unlucky year or whatnot. I don't know what he does except sip wine and go to Europe. But I feel for him with his 4.2 lost wins. On the other side, Mod's actually been very fortunate to be 5-8. His awful team should suggest a 2-11 record. And then you can see everybody else is pretty much in the middle. CB's been fairly fortunate. RO a little unlucky. Everybody else somewhere in the middle.
I think mine is evened out to right at the record based on power index, but I have definitely gotten very lucky on some, and I have gotten very unlucky on some. So
Yeah, I
maybe
think
that's
yours
just
evens out. Just looking at your schedule, you had like several wins where you did not score very many points and the other team sucked. And then you've had losses where the other team was just unbelievable and you couldn't do anything about it. So in the wash, that comes out pretty much.
Yeah.
Even. So it's interesting to see kind of how the standings shake up. The top 2 wouldn't have changed. Really, it's Taylor being out, me being in. I'm a little bit fortunate as well, is the big difference. All right. That's all I got.
Very nice. I'll go back to my screen. You want to go over some matchups? We'll go in depth on some of the bigger ones, and then I guess everyone's kind of playing somebody for something. So we'll just go right into Wes versus Scales.
Wes versus Scales. Yeah, so Wes is 11-8 all time against Scales with a 3-game win streak against him. So let's see if that holds up.
Who won the last one? Because everybody's played each other So this is a
Yeah, so
rematch.
he beat West beat Scales 78-77 in week
Oh,
3 this year.
wow. I think I
Yeah,
remember that. That was something about they took the Buffalo
pull it
like
up.
safety away or blocked kick away, and that's how Scales ended up losing.
Yeah, let's
Crazy.
see. Oh, they took, yeah, because Buffalo only got 4 points on defense.
Yeah.
There was a block kick, you said?
Yeah, it was where Miami punted into their own guy and they gave Buffalo that as a blocked kick, and then I guess Yahoo Stat Correction took it away, and it that was the difference. I remember that week.
Nice. Yep, lost by
Uh,
1 point.
Going into this week matchup, Scales isn't really playing for anything either as Wes.
Hey, do
He's
you want to
trying to.
pull up your
Oh
screen?
shit, you're right. Sorry. Um,
You're fine.
uh, I hit share screen, but I didn't hit the actual button. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, Scale's not really playing for anything. He's had the worst quarterback luck. He's gonna play, Deshaun Watson, who's been riding a bunch of benches all season, and now he's on Scales' team. And Scales not playing for much, and Wes, trying to improve his PI and end up in the top 8. Got off to a good start. I'm probably gonna take. We don't have to, absolutely break it down, but I'd probably pick Wes's team. He's got off to a great start. I think Wes is more concerned about Josh Jacobs. That pinky looked like he dislocated it or broke it, and they taped it
He
to his.
came back in though.
I know he came
Like,
back in, but everything I've heard, it looked painful. I don't know if I broke my pinky, it just wouldn't feel the same carrying the ball. So maybe it may mess with him, and Wes just hopes that he can be healthy for not next week,
right.
but
I
the
was gonna say
following week.
the good news is the Raiders have a long week since they're on the short week this week. He has a bye next week in the
Yeah.
playoffs. So I think by the time it matters for Wes, he's going to be in totally good shape and it'll be a non-factor.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what Wes is hoping for.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much time we want to spend on this, but yeah, I agree. He got a good start from Carlson and Jacobs. If he was playing for something more, he might be pissed that he got 99 yards instead of hitting that bonus, but he'll
Yeah.
take that 16 points. I think he's got, favorable, just a better team than Scales. I think it would take a lot for Scales to overcome him. I don't see a ton of just upside. Deshaun Watson is playing now, and I think if Scales was in the playoff race, he'd be hoping for more there. I just don't see a ton there. Yeah, I've got West winning by quite a bit.
Yeah, Wes has been making great moves. He's got Marquise Brown. I didn't even know he was playing, so that could be a
Yep.
formidable receiver down the stretch. Gino with a great pickup. We all kind of crapped on Wes's team with having Russ and Aaron Rodgers, week 2 to week 7, 6 or 7. But he's picked up Gino, who's had a great comeback season, and he's just got a very well-rounded team. So I think he'll win this week and then get to sit out next week. So good job, Wes.
Yep.
Um, let's see who. Let's go CT's team playing Taylor. Uh, Taylor not really playing for. Oh, go ahead with stats.
Yeah, so this one's surprisingly close. CT has an 8-7 record all time against Taylor. He beat him earlier this year in week 3, 117-96. So I guess are these all week 3 rematches?
Yeah,
I guess technically it rolls over. Yeah.
yeah, it rolls over. Um,
Yeah.
so CT gets D Hop back. He was on a bye last week when I played him, luckily, and he's got McCaffrey, ETN, who didn't have a great week last week, but he's hoping to bounce back, and Derrick Henry. So CT's going to be very involved in that Jacksonville, Tennessee game with 2 running backs in the defense. Just because neither team is really playing for anything except for CT, trying to beat Paradox. I think he's just hoping for a great week. I'll pick CT to win this week, and hopefully CT optimizes his team, and Mahomes can play well at Denver to get him a ton of points and stay atop Paradox is what he's really playing for this week.
Yeah, I look at Taylor's team and I'm kind of happy he's no longer in the playoff mix with Jamar Chase coming back and seeing that wide receiver duo of Chase and Jefferson. I totally forgot he had that. I know Walker's questionable. I think I haven't heard an update on his status. But I mean, I guess with those two receivers and then Williams is such a touchdown vulture, I can see Taylor putting up some points.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, CT's squad, I mean, he's got basically top 10 receivers. Now, who gave him Amon St. Brown? Because that guy's a top 10 receiver now.
Hmm.
Uh, he's got two top 10 receivers, arguably, two top 10 running backs, a top 10 tight end. His team's just loaded. You got Mahomes at Denver, could be a bad matchup on the
Yeah, that's
road.
right.
I think that's the wild card in this matchup, but I think CT will have enough to withstand Taylor and pull it off.
Yeah, see, I think CT will be really disappointed if he doesn't get 120 points. I don't think he cares if he wins or
I
loses.
think that's the thing to talk about. Will he hit 120 points? To me, I mean, you look at his projections at 114, a healthy dose of that is tied up in Mahomes at 33 points. I just don't know. At Denver, it could be a little tricky for that. McCaffrey's playing Tampa, which is a decent matchup. I don't know. It could happen, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as it looks.
I think St. Brown will have more than 9, and I think ETN will have more than 9, and that should help.
I'd agree.
If the others stay the same, I mean, I think this is low at 9
The
against a
Mahomes is
team
the
that's going to
one
be a
piece that
shootout.
I could see Mahomes putting up 20 to 25.
Yeah, he's got to make it up somewhere else. Hopefully,
Yep.
McCaffrey had a huge game last week. He didn't. I don't think he eclipsed 100 in either one, but he had a ton of rushing yards and a ton of receiving yards. It doesn't show his receiving, but he had 66 rush yards, and I think he was like at
He
80. So
had eight
he's doing it both
receptions,
ways.
80 yards receiving.
Yeah, just kind
The
of
only problem with that is he's the classic. You could get the double bonus, but you also are very unlikely to get a single bonus with
yeah,
McCaffrey, which is always frustrating.
right. But I'm sorry, yeah, because texting me. Yeah, so I'll take CT in that one.
And
Let's go. Who do we got next? Who's third? Why can't I see? Oh, me versus Shmi. Take it away on this one. I got text her back.
you versus me.
Yeah.
So Shmi is 7-4 all time against you, although you did beat him in week 3, 96 to 69. Nice. Palindrome 69. Prior to that, me had beaten you 3 times in a row, so you got back on the positive side against him. Let's see. You got it open. Where are you on here? Here it is. I mean, I'll kind of give it my breakdown.
Yeah.
Nobody had anybody on Thursday, so it's a clean slate. Quarterback matchup. I mean, arguably the top two quarterbacks in fantasy. No offense to Mahomes this year, and Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. Both I would argue have somewhat tough matchups with the New York teams. Which who would have
Yes.
thought we would have been saying that a year ago? And I do think, isn't there rain in the, well, I guess Allen's at home, but it looks like, yeah, there's rain in the forecast in both of those. So who knows how that'll play out. Shmee's team throughout the season, I've liked a little bit more. It'll be interesting with Tua, if he's fully healthy, and Tyreek Hill fully healthy, if that combination is at full go. Um, that that obviously gives him an advantage at receiver, which is your weak spot with Cooper, Moore, and
Yeah.
Godwin are all decent, but they're not home run hits like he has Hill. But I say that, and he's got Darius Slayton slated to start in his wide receiver too. So he'll need a lot of points out of Tyreek. Austin Eckler obviously is a stud this year at running back. Najee Harris has been decent. I like your running backs a little bit more in terms of total overall balance and Chubbs and in Mixon. So I almost call that a bit of an advantage for you. Quarterbacks of draws we talked about, and I would say, flex is pretty close too. I've got this thing pretty much at a dead heap. Yahoo's got quite ahead for Shmi, but I could
19.
see this
Yeah.
one going either way.
Yeah.
I'll go, man. I'm gonna go with you, just barely.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Shmi wins. It's gonna be close.
Yeah. I hope I keep it close and it's not as big as the spread has Yahoo has. I hope I keep it at least close. I would give the edge to Shmi just because Allen's coming back to Buffalo. That crowd's going to be rocking. They
True.
haven't played at Buffalo in a month because they lost that snow game.
That snow
So
game, snow again.
they're gonna be they're going to be pumped for that. Hill's always a threat to hit 20 points, and he's got him at projected at 18. Cooper has not played well on the road, and with Deshaun Watson, I thought that'd be an upgrade, but he looked awful last week. Deshaun Watson and Cooper. So I just give it's just me. I just hope my team can perform next week. I really don't think it matters between Shmi and I who wins. We'll be playing. We're both playing next week anyway. So not a huge difference, but I would probably go Shmi, and I just hope my team stays healthy and doesn't get hurt for next week. So.
Yep.
All
Where
right.
do you want to go
next? We'll do CB versus Mays real quick. You want to do the stats?
Yeah, so CB actually has a losing record against Mod. Mod is 7-5 all time with him. That might be the only person he has a winning record against based on his record. CB did lose to Mod earlier in the regular season, 75-85. So for whatever reason, Mod's kind of got his number. And this is a matchup for seeding wise that could have a lot of impact for CB. Although it's just shuffling around things as he's probably going to play either you or Shmi.
Yeah. I don't know who has Mays had as his quarterback, because Goff has actually had a pretty good season. It's Brady. That's probably been one of his, Mays doesn't have a very good team in general, just dealing with a bunch of injuries, but Goff's had a pretty decent season playing against Minnesota at home. I think Detroit's actually favored in that game. So I think they're expecting big things out of the offense, and he's just never really had the receivers. Devontae Smith was great in college, just hasn't done a whole lot with Hurts in that offense, and he's playing McKinnon, who is the backup to Pacheco. Pretty good tight end in Kittle, but just never really put it together each week, and is the lowest scoring team of the season. CB didn't get off to a great start, and he's playing in Dre too. I don't know what the running back situation is in Baltimore. I heard maybe Dobbins is coming back, so maybe one weak spot in the running back. But with Joe Burrow against their kind of rival Cleveland in Cincinnati, I think that'll be, and he has to double up with Higgins. I'll pick CB. It doesn't really matter. Actually, CB's got some pretty tough matchups, so I wouldn't be surprised if Mays pulls one out. But at least CB, because he won last week, saved himself and is in the playoffs, and this one doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter, and I think that's good for CB because he got hit hard with the bye week with Aaron Jones being out. Olave could factor in. But conversely, Mod has Taylor out as well this week. So it's kind of good for both cases that this doesn't mean a ton. It's just seeding. I could see this being the lowest scoring match of the week. CB already only got 1 point from Higbee. Like you said, there's some questionable matchups here. He's throwing Drake out there at running back. You got McKinnon from Mod. I guess I'll go CB, but honestly, this could be a coin flip.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's going to be the lowest scoring of the matchup of the week for sure. I guess I just didn't get hit with the bye bug that much, so I completely forgot all these teams are dealing with buys because I think there's 6 teams.
Last week of the season, and there's all these fucking buys. I mean, didn't really impact our league, but it could certainly have an impact in the future as we think about scheduling. Can't remember if last year anybody got screwed by that either.
I don't think so. I've never remembered this many teams being on bye this late. I think they usually kind of try to stop it at week 13. I don't know why this one went later. Maybe because everyone played on Thanksgiving that week. There was no buys on week 12. I think whatever Thanksgiving was, every team played. And I don't think that's usually the case, but it's
I'll just tell you, I don't like it. I would hate to be in like a must-win game and then have a couple of people out that are key to your team.
I know.
Right, we're going to mine.
I could maybe see 2 teams being on bye this late. That would still suck, but you want You want 0 teams on bye this week or this late.
All right, so I've got a 12-9 record against my old roomie Mel. Won 2 in a row, including a week 3 win, 102-87, and then last year's quarterfinal beat him 79-67. Oof. This is a must win for me. I'll let you take it away before I have some choice words on this one.
Yeah, might need to tell Nels to set his lineup if he listens to this. I don't know why James Robinson's projected. I mean, he was a healthy
So
scratch last
this was
week.
my point. I will say, as somebody who needs to win this matchup, I'm thrilled to see it. If I was Jack right now, I would be livid. I don't know if this is just he hasn't looked at it or he's just taunting Jack a little bit or what's the deal. But if I was Jack, I would be absolutely livid looking at 2 holes in his lineup. I mean, he can take out Robinson, I guess, for Harris. And then defense, he doesn't even, he can flip in New York's. I mean, he's got moves. I guess he's just kind of leaving them there for now to piss off Jack is my assumption. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're
Well,
gonna have any
and then the
trouble.
other piece, I'll say, I mean, it's hindsight, but I was thrilled and shocked to see that he left in Carr over Kyler Murray.
Yeah, the New England defense isn't. Well, I guess probably against running quarterbacks, they're pretty bad. They got killed that one Monday night. Yeah, I don't think he's checking his lineup since he's out of it. Maybe Jack will nudge him to set a full lineup and at least give him a chance, but it's looking pretty for you with Derek Carr to if he plays. I mean, all you have to do is beat 2 points to clear that bar, and then we know you've got elite receivers, and Nelson's is kind of struggling, and he's got a flex that's been a healthy scratch the last week. So I'm going to pick you in this. I also think you get a bump with White that Fournette wasn't seen at practice. So
Yeah.
you've got a solid squad going into the playoffs, and I think you'll beat Nels easy, and I think that'll seal it, right? If you win, that's the
I win,
playoffs.
I'm in, and that's so for Jack scenarios to play out, first and foremost, he needs Nels to beat me. So that's my comments on I'd be pissed if I was Jack looking at that lineup right now. But yeah, I should win this. Especially with Carr only getting 2 points on Thursday. My defense was fine, putting up 7.
Mm-hmm.
My defense outscoring by 5. If I lose this, my team fell apart and I don't deserve to be in. To me, the biggest thing I'm watching, even not even on my roster, I've got a hole at running back. And yeah, if Fournette can't go, it helps for White. But long term, I'll be interested in the Baltimore game to see if Dobbins plays and could be anything of use going into the playoffs because wide receiver, I'm almost too deep. Running back, I'm pretty soft. So we'll see what happens.
Very nice. Yeah, I think. See, I showed all those scenarios at the beginning, but I guess I didn't realize like who you were playing. Like you got the easiest matchup. I mean, it just if there's any drama, it was that you have to lose and Jack has to win, but you're playing
So
on the worst team.
scenario
And
one
so
is me losing, then Jack
Jack has to
winning.
win.
Then yeah, yep. All right,
And
is he the
so
last matchup?
do what?
Is
Yeah,
he the
this is
last
last one.
matchup? Jack versus who's he got? RO.
Yeah.
Yeah, so RO is actually 11-7 all time against Jack and has beaten him
Dang.
3 times in a row, including 72-71 in week 3. Man, what happened in that game? I gotta go back and look at that one. All these like week 3 matchups coming to bite
Yeah.
people at the playoff hunt. Yeah, 72-71. I'm looking at it. Dalvin Cook lost a fumble. Well, no, that was for RO. He won by 1. I'm trying to see if there's any near misses for Jack there. I mean, David Montgomery went for 11 yards rushing. Ouch. I mean, Justin Herbert was 3 yards short of 300 yards. So, I mean, just small things, and Jack would be, in a situation where total points he's ahead of me and a win and he's in. So, tough luck for Jack.
Yeah, if Jack listens to this, that those 1 point, I lost to you by 1 point, and I mean, I still made the playoffs for you. That that was a huge
That
win
was,
for
yeah,
you.
that's season altering for me.
And then
Yep.
same with Jack. You don't think about it week 3 because you have so much of the season to play. But looking back, that 1 point, what was it? Someone just needed a couple more yards to get the bonus.
Herbert had 297 pass yards,
Oh my
and
gosh!
David Montgomery only got 11 yards rushing in that game. So I mean,
I
there are
think that's
several things that could have gone. That was to start 0-3 for him. I mean,
yeah.
so he had that demoralizing loss, fought back, and I mean, he could still make it, but he's got some work to do. And yeah, it can come down to a couple yards.
I'll take Jack in this one. Aro didn't get a good. I guess Devonte Adams had all those 71 yards in the first half and then didn't do anything in the
Yep.
second half. Not DA's fault, but like you just saw
They
how
ran
bad.
the ball and didn't
Yeah,
do much of anything in the second half. And yeah, they kind of pissed that one away. So he had basically one big catch down the sideline, and that's pretty much all he saw of him.
yeah. I guess for
Yeah,
these two teams, kind of the end of the season recaps. I thought Jack got great production from AJ Brown, and then he took Keenan Allen really high, and he was been terrible this year. Great pickup in Pollard. Hunt has been kind of out of the mix. He's not playing the same role he did last year, and just Herbert has had a really bad season. He picked up Fields to kind of help save his season, like we recapped earlier. Jack had a great stretch in the middle there where he was winning. I think that's when Fields was going off, but just not as good as a team as we thought at the beginning. And RO just never had a quarterback. When he did get Lamar, he got hurt. I think one of RO's best. He made a great move to get Devonte Adams. Cup getting hurt, really hurt his team. And then Lockett was one of the best pickups of the season because Gino has been playing so well and finding Lockett and Metcalf a lot. So some good moves, bad moves, both of them. Just missing the playoffs, and I guess technically it's not over, but I think the writing's on the wall with how Nelson's team is performing, and you're set up to win that matchup. So.
so I'll tell you that I was sweating looking ahead of this matchup when I thought Jack was going to win last week, because there was a moment where I noticed RO was going to get Lamar on bye week, and then Lawrence went down with that injury that looked gruesome. And I
Hmm.
was like, shit, RO's literally not going to have a quarterback to play. Was going to have to scrounge the waiver wire or
Yeah.
whatnot. But looks like Lawrence is back, and he'll at least be able to put up a good chance against Jack this week. But I just think 7 points out of Adams, which is clearly his best player, puts him at quite a hole. I've got Jack winning this one. Not going to say fairly easy, but he should walk away with the victory here. But question will be, is it enough?
Yeah. So does Jack have more points than you total,
He does.
right?
So I mean, I think it's like I'd have to score. Gosh, I'm looking at
I
it.
think it was
120.
38.
It's possible. So I think it's like 38 points. So if I go off this week, I'm trying to look at my projected versus he's at 92. I'm only at 98.
Yeah.
And it's possible that I could
Just
lose
lose
and
and
sneak
get
in, but
points. Yeah.
likely playing Nelson's team with the projected points. If I'm scoring enough points to make up the total points on Jack, I'm winning this week. So I'd be shocked if that comes into play in my favor. But it's certainly, if I lose, Jack, I think is going to take me over in total points and probably be in good shape to make the playoffs.
Very nice. Well, thanks for hopping on and going over this. I wish there was a little more drama. I guess I didn't realize Shmi's victory was such a big deal because it basically knocked
It was
in out and
huge.
CB in. That's crazy. Could
Yeah.
have been
So
a lot of
well, yeah,
drama
well,
if Shmi
CB
had
won on
lost.
his own. There was a moment where it looked like Jack was going to win and CB was going to lose.
Right.
And in that scenario, because of CB's lower his point total being close to mine,
Yeah.
there was a scenario where like if I won out and either of Jack or CB lost, I could still get in. There was a scenario that CB could have fallen completely out of the playoffs if
Hmm.
Jack and I both won and made up and stayed ahead in total points. So yeah.
I guess we didn't. Yeah, it's mostly going to be me, you, Shmi and CB all playing each other next week.
Yeah,
But
in some rotation. That's it, because even if CB jumps up into that like 4 spot, one of you in Shmi is guaranteed to be the 3,
third,
but
yeah,
neither of you can fall to 6.
right,
So you won't have there's no possible scenario, I don't think, that you
yeah,
guys play each other again. So even if CB falls into the 4, he's still going to play either you or, or Shmi, because I
right.
can't pass either of you guys.
Pretty cool.
Well, I
I
guess,
was
well,
actually
I could pass CB, but yeah, then it wouldn't matter. I'd be still playing one of you guys. Yeah, I can't jump up to 4.
I was actually thinking about that before we left for work today. Like, am I gonna play Shmi like 2 weeks in a row? But you just
I think
laid it
it's
all out that I
literally,
can't. Yeah,
I think it's literally impossible. Which I mean, if I'm thinking that
which I
kind
don't want.
of
I don't want
it,
to play Josh
it
Allen.
means based on power index at least, like we're not gonna have an unbalanced side of the bracket. So because you and or you and Shmi have clearly kind of the higher rated teams in the 3 and 4 spots. So you'll split up. Well, yeah, you'll split up regardless on other sides of the bracket for Wes and CT. So it'll
Yeah.
be, I don't
No,
know if there's necessarily anybody they're cheering for. I would argue maybe you don't want Shmi on your side of the bracket, but
it reseeds.
does it each time?
Yeah, I looked it up and I was like, I really
Oh,
hope I didn't just jinx myself by looking up if it reseeds. This was like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, there's reseed. It reseeds.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't, both of those teams are so good, like coming from our spot. I mean, CT's is scarier, but Wes's is really good too. I
I
feel
know.
like you're going to have to put up a great performance to beat either one of them. So,
Right. They're both. Yeah. I hope Wes doesn't take this as a slight, even if he listens all the way through to this. Like if of the two teams, I would rather play Wes
for
in the
sure.
semis than CT, but still
But we're
both
talking
very good
about a top
teams.
8 team of all time, but we're
Yeah.
comparing it against a Paradox comparable.
I mean, of all
So
people, I should know that. I shouldn't say that. I scored 127, the most of the second most of that week, and Wes scored 172. So uh
yep,
both are great. I mean, anyway. All right. Well, thanks for jumping
be
on.
fun.
I'll get this put up and time stamped and
Maybe
have a
a
good one.
season recap episode next week. I've got some
I,
ideas.
I would like to. Next week, yeah, I can do next week, and then I can probably even do the 23rd. But you might be gone, so
I'll be here.
cool.
All
All
right.
righty.
Later.
Hey, don't leave. I got something real quick. Hang on.